Chapter 37. 2/3 of a family reunion. Summary. Space phone call. All for One, aka Hisashi Midoriya, was still freaking out. His son was in space. Space! Not only that, but all his plans were ruined. Things could not get worse. We believe that we can contact Midoriya by mentally linking you and Yagi, then strengthening All for One's connection in order to connect to One for All users' mindscapes. Nezu explained. Never mind. It got worse. You want me to go into that blonde buffoon's head? I'll lose brain cells just from the proximity. He could technically do it. Dreamstalker to get into All Might's head, and then a mix of Channeler, Brain Boost, and Psychic Link should do the trick, but he really didn't want to be in All Might's head. He tried to think of any other way he could contact his son, but nothing he had already attached to Izuku had the right type of connection. It looked like he was doing this. Well, maybe he could find a way to steal One for All from this. No, wait, he had already tried something similar with the 6th user, and it didn't work. Fine, he begrudgingly said. Nezu smiled sharply. Wonderful! But first, we need to make sure you agree to our terms under the quirk of one of my associates. Both parties will be bound by the agreed stipulations for 48 hours. Also, Eraserhead will be using his quirk on you while you agree to the terms, just to be safe. Interesting quirk. Nope, he could steal it later. He needed to focus on contacting his son. First, aka Yoshi Shigaraki, was having a relatively good day. Sure, yesterday had been stressful with everything going on with 9th, but Yoshi got the sense that Izuku had taken his advice. It felt like a weight had been lifted off the young boy's shoulders, and First was grateful. Also, today they were playing Twister. Yoshi could not wait to get a proper connection back with 9th, but Twister was entertaining in the interim, especially because he was going to be the one calling out the moves and not actually twisting himself into a human pretzel. But apparently, the universe had other ideas. Everyone felt the disturbance before it arrived. The game was abandoned as all 8 of them stood, ready to face whatever was coming. It was a shock when the energy they felt concentrated on 8th. In a flash of yellow light, 2 figures appeared beside the spindly Vestige. Yoshi recognized both instantly, one gaunt with yellow hair, and one surprisingly no longer lacking a face. Though Yoshi was pretty sure that's just because they were in the void. He'd bet money that the now white-haired man still looked as much like a potato in real life. How on earth was his brother here? He should be in jail, not trying to torment his afterlife. Greetings, brother, All for One said with a creepy smile. But the ominous atmosphere the villain was going for didn't last very long when Yagi stepped forward. Don't worry about him. He's under a quirk where he agreed to not harm anyone, try to steal quirks, or further his evil plans. At that, his brother deflated slightly, resembling a child who didn't get their way. Yoshi couldn't help but smile at the sight. So they were not in any immediate danger, but that didn't explain how or why the 2 of them were there. Yagi stared at the group of them, eyes tracing their faces. He lingered on Nana for a moment before he seemed to shake himself. Well, it's an honor to see you all. Is there a way I could talk to young Midoriya? He asked hopefully. Yoshi shook his head. 9th doesn't have access to his quirk right now. His body's still too weak. We were able to bring him in the quirk yesterday for a little while, but he still couldn't talk here. Before Yagi could respond, Second cut in harshly. What reason could you possibly have to bring that monster here? His brother made a fake look of shock at the comment. I'll have you know that it was the heroes who asked for my help. Without my quirks, this would not be possible. You should be thanking me. Second was about to go off again, but Yoshi pushed out his arm. Fighting would get them nowhere. He spoke calmly. ignoring his brother's existence. Eighth, no, not the Vestige, sorry. Eighth, if you could explain what you're doing here. Oh, Yagi said, looking a little dejected that Izuku wasn't here. Right, well, after I had a strange dream last night, I, Midoriya, Nana, and 6 others were playing Uno. I remembered what young Midoriya said about the quirk space. Nezu came up with the idea to use my connection to One for All to enter the quirk space to be able to talk to Midoriya. All for One was the only one powerful enough to boost the concentration over such a great distance. Do you know if he and the others are okay? Do you know what happened? And why can't young Midoriya use One for All? Despite the fact that his brother was staring creepily at him, this could actually be a good opportunity. Yochi's sure that Ninth has been worried about what's going on back on Earth, and it certainly seems that the people on Earth are worried about him and the others. This could be a real way they could communicate once Ninth gets their quirk back. His brother's annoyed voice broke Yochi out of his thoughts. What do you mean I can't talk to Izuku? That's the whole reason I agreed to this. Is he okay? Who do I need to kill for taking him? Wait, he was actually concerned? Why was his brother so worried about Ninth? Sure, he wants One for All, and the fact is, space probably isn't conducive to his timeline, but he actually seems worried about Izuku. Yochi gave his brother an odd look before focusing back on Yagi. Ninth is okay. We don't know exactly what's going on because we're keeping the quirk held back, but some things have leaked through. For the first 2 months, we were completely cut off by some sort of quirk suppressant. There was no way to even glimpse what was going on. One day, the suppressants just faded completely, and we were able to see how weak Ninth had gotten. We had to hold back One for All so it didn't instantly kill him. He was severely malnourished, dehydrated, and his muscles had atrophied. Despite that, all 6 kids were able to escape what we eventually learned, alien traffickers that held them. After that, we got small glimpses of the outside, as well as strong emotions from Ninth. He and the others are alive, and well on an alien planet with plans of making their way back to Earth somehow. It was impossible to miss the wave of anxious relief that washed over Yagi. What did those on Earth think had happened? The Vestiges were able to piece some things together from glimpses, but they were completely in the dark. If Yagi was relieved at the alien trafficking comment, what did Yagi think had happened to his successor all these months? Human trafficking? All for One spoke out, outraged. How dare those filthy aliens lay a finger on him? I will rip them limb from limb and make them wish they'd never been born. That was it. Yoshi was too confused to keep ignoring his brother's existence. And why do you care what happens to Ninth? Oh, his brother said lightly. That's quite simple. Izuku is my son. What? Yoshi gasped. Yes, and it's what I get for not vaulting him. You should be thankful you didn't end up abducted by aliens by refusing my care. No, you do not get to justify locking me in a vault for years because aliens somehow abducted Izuku. That is not how this works. Fuck, I'm gonna have to break the news to him that he's got you for a father. He does not need that right now. No one needs that ever. Rude. I was an amazing father before someone, he glared at Yagi, ripped my face off. It's not like I could come home after that. I had to come up with a lie about working overseas. I still made sure to financially support him and call him every week. Well, it's more like every month now. He's growing up and doesn't want to have to talk to his dad as much. Probably because he hasn't seen him in years because someone punched half of my face off. Yuchi could already feel a headache developing from the bickering. Shota had been pacing anxiously for the entire hour All Might and All for One had been unconscious. They could wake up with any possible news, bad or good. Aizawa, sit down, Nezu said again. For all we know, they could be at this for another hour. At that moment, the two men woke up. Yagi groaned as he clutched his head, and All for One didn't look to be doing any better.
Ah, my head. What's going on?
Yagi gasped out. The blonde's eyes were squeezed shut, and he curled in on himself ever so slightly. All for One sighed in discomfort.
The drawback of one of the quirks I used is headaches, depending on the distance. Apparently my son is so far away that even all the quirks I have to counter drawbacks like that couldn't negate it.
The potato-faced man slunked into the nearest chair and held his head in his hands. Yagi groaned again.
This is the worst migraine in existence. I wasn't able to talk with young Midoriya. But I spoke with the Vestiges, and they said that the 6 of them are fine. They were able to escape the ones who had captured them and are trying to get home. Those human traffickers are going to pay for taking my son,
All for One growled out. Shota didn't have time to process the villain's words before Yagi spoke up again.
I think I'm going to pass out.
The skeletal buffoon promptly passed out. Shota quickly wrapped his capture weapon around the man to keep him from falling to the floor. Fuck. If what All for One said was true about distance affecting the headache, how far away did that mean Midoriya and the others were? All Might said they were okay, but okay was relative. If they were imprisoned for months. The rat poked the slumped-over form of All for One before announcing, "It appears he has passed out." Just how far away are his kids?